This is High Level Korean with 한국어천재 on TBS EFM.
Professor Dan in the studio.
Here I am.
새해 복 많이 받으세요.
새해 복 많이 받으시고요.
How are you feeling?
Good. Had a little too much food for dinner, but otherwise very good.
I mean, it's the holidays.
Exactly.
It is the holidays.
Live it up, right? So.
Well, as you can tell, I'm not really good at numbers.
Same here, right? So.
But for me and for audiences out there who are looking into just making some more money,
Always a good idea.
investing,
Why not?
learning about stocks.
Why not?
Well, maybe today is the day for you.
It sure is, right? So.
Well, before we get started, we do have our quiz. 이번 명절은 가족들 만나기 좀 쉽지 않잖아요. 그래서 여러분은 세뱃돈을 잘 받을 수도 없는데도 there's always a way. It could be, through online transactions. 그래도 세뱃돈을 받을 수 있기 때문에 얼마 정도가 적당하다고 생각하시나요? 샵 1013으로 단문 50원, 장문 100원 유료 문자 보내주시면 추첨을 통해서 커피 쿠폰 드리겠습니다.
와우, so 퀴즈 아닌 그냥 질문이네요.
그냥 질문. We want to
재밌는
know.
질문.
What about you? I mean, you have two gorgeous kids.
I sure do. And I plan to give them probably 만 원 정도.
만 원?
1인당 만 원 정도.
근데
세뱃돈.
나이도 약간 중요한 것 같은데요.
네, 나이는 아직 8살하고 5살이라서 한 만 원 정도
만 원 정도.
충분하겠죠.
적합하네요.
맞죠. 중학생인 경우 좀 더 많이 줘야겠죠.
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
고등학생 한 5만 원, 10만 원 정도. Maybe
Wow.
even more.
Oh, wow. Moving up in the
모르겠지만,
world.
right?
Can
So,
I
yeah.
세뱃돈 as well?
Sorry, why not? Right? So,
세뱃. Professor한테 세뱃돈을 받아야 되겠어요.
there we go, right? So
Well, we are talking about, finances become
we sure
quite
are.
a big
So
topic.
It sure is. 핫한 이슈죠. So I have one word that will make life much easier for everyone.
Okay.
The one word you need to remember when it comes to investing is 재테크.
재테크.
재테크. 나 무슨 뜻일까요? 유래는 좀 조사해 봤는데 재테크라는 거는 재무, so finance, right? 재무 plus technology, tech.
So are you investing in technology? Or?
No comment. I did a while ago. Not right now, but I did a
Oh.
while ago. So finance plus technology. Now, I should point out 재테크 is different from fintech, which is
Okay.
like a marriage between banking and technology to create new products. So
okay.
that's fintech, but what we're talking about tonight is 재테크, which is more, I guess, what we would do as individuals, right? To try and manage our money. So
Okay.
이거 무슨 목적일까요? 재테크라는 거. So 자금이나 자산. So you take your capital or your assets and 그거 효율적으로 운용해서 재산을 불리는 행위라고 합니다. So what you want to do is manage your capital or assets efficiently to create more wealth, right? 재산이라는 거죠.
We all like that. We like the sound of that.
Yeah, we all want more money, right?
We don't necessarily know how to do that. And of
Neither
course,
do I, right?
Of course, even, we can't follow a formula, but
No.
I mean, these stocks, we can't just invest in, these popular ones. People do say to do that, but there's always a risk.
There is, and we're going to talk about that. 아주 큰 위험도 있고요. 좀
네.
이따가 얘기해보겠지만.
Okay.
And what's interesting, apparently 이 재테크라는 말을 원래 기업 재무부에서 쓰던 말인데, 근데 지금 와서는 오히려 가정의 재산을 관리하는 상황에 더 많이 쓰이는 말이라고 들었는데요. So it's actually much more common like in just among individuals or like how to increase your family's assets instead of like in a company anymore.
Right. I mean, yesterday we talked about 목돈.
That's good.
And I think here in Korea, we tend to, are able to get our hands on some 목돈
Sure.
easier, I would say, just because of inheritance.
Sure, of course.
I think Korea was very much built upon just cash,
Totally.
not really a credit culture from the way beginning. And so
That's changed, of course,
that has
recently,
definitely
right? So
changed. And so I think
가득 right?
people are able to, inherit cash from
sure.
their parents or, I think Koreans are very good at saving
Exactly.
as well.
There's a culture of more 알뜰한 소비나, right? So,
그렇죠.
yeah, thrifty consumer culture, right? So that's very helpful, right? So 신기하죠. So that's pretty cool. Now, some other stuff to keep in mind. So what you want to do if you're going to try and save that 목돈, right? Or get some of that seed money there is you probably want to keep a household budget or ledger. So 가계부를 일단 작성해서 And then what you need to pay attention to is your 수입 and your 지출. So 수입 in this case would be your income and 지출 would be your expenditures, right? And the most important thing I would say is 기본적인 개념은 바로 지출은 소득보다 적어야 한다. So make sure that you're spending less than you're earning, right? So
Right.
pretty
It's
common sense, right?
그렇죠. 기본적인 이런 수학이긴 한데 어렵더라고요.
Yeah, 모르는 사람들도 많으시고, right? So, including myself,
And it's so
guilty.
difficult to do. I have lived almost my whole life without, living on a budget. And not saying that I lived extravagantly, but even if I was, let's say, earning just $100 a month,
Sure.
I would just spend $100 or even more, put it on the credit card.
It was in and then it was out.
And then it was out. Not really being careful with
Gotcha, yeah.
how we spend our money.
Do you have your own 가계부? Do you have like a household account?
See, that's something that we used to do. We would write it down in our
like a little notebook?
or a diary or
Sure.
planner. 근데 이제는 다 인터넷, 모바일 뱅킹을 할 수
맞죠.
있기 때문에
따로 쓸 필요 없죠.
쓸 필요 없고 볼 필요도 없어요.
맞죠.
너무 간편하기 때문에
맞습니다.
we don't really take note of it or take care of it. And
맞죠.
things
카드
like that.
쓰면 더 바로 문자나 알림이
그쵸.
오고, right? So push 알림.
That's
그런
right.
거, right? So
Well, we are
push
getting
alarms.
some messages.
Ooh, let's see.
1156님께서는 초딩까지 10,000원. 중고 대딩? 대딩이라고 하나요?
대딩까지? 와,
2만 원.
대학생까지?
2만 원이에요.
오, 좋은 생각인데, right?
Yeah,
So
I
that's a
guess
good idea.
it would depend on how many kids you have.
Yes, yes.
How many people you need to give
Spread the
세뱃돈
money
to.
out, kind
yeah.
of. Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like, oh my gosh, 2만 원 as a 대학생, that's 약간 짜. But I mean, if you have 5 brothers and sisters,
Sure, then
that's a whole lot of money.
spread the wealth, right? So,
Adrian Linga says stocks are a secured version of investments, while bonds are the opposite of it.
거꾸로 아닐까요? Isn't it
okay.
the other way around? As
All
far
right.
as I mean, both are risky to some extent, but
Sure.
don't quote me on this, but I would say both are 조금 위험 자산인 것 같아요.
Everything does have a risk, but I think it depends on your take on stock investments as well.
Sure.
There are, what I've heard about, there are day traders who,
Sure, yeah.
buy and sell like within the
Minute
minute
to minute.
and second, and that's a bit like too risky. And
트레이딩 하시는 분들.
그렇죠.
So,
근데
yeah.
오랫동안 생각을 하고 long term으로 생각하면 I mean, you leave it, for
10 or 20
10,
years.
20 years and
Sure.
save it for retirement. So.
Hopefully, right? So 노후 준비하고
That's
노후
right.
설계도 하시고.
맞아요.
Right? So,
Well, if you
good
are just
stuff.
tuning in, we are talking about finances and maybe how you should invest your 세뱃돈 this year when it comes to stocks and investments.
For sure.
그래서 준비해봤는데요. 여러분은 세뱃돈 얼마 정도가 적당하고 생각하시나요? What is the appropriate amount to give? This is also
As a little allowance.
As in a little allowance. 샵 1013으로 담은 50원, 장문 100원, 유료 문자 보내주시면 추첨을 통해서 커피 쿠폰 드리겠습니다. Woohoo, indeed.
So-
it may not be, as good as 세뱃돈, but
No, agreed, but-
still something.
Oh, totally, yeah. So now a lot of people ask me like, well, what's the safest bet here? So 그냥 당연히 은행 예금, 적금은 제일 안전한 선택이죠. 근데 문제가 조금 있죠. 무슨 문제있냐면 바로 금리보다 물가 상승. So in this case, if interest rates are lower than inflation, then we have a problem.
Right. So we talk about how money changes in value.
It sure does. 돈
Decreases in
가치죠,
value.
right? Exactly. So that
throughout time.
that value goes down, and if your interest rates 요즘 한 0%대 아닌가요? 은행 금리나
그런가요?
이자 같은 거 한
제가
1%대?
그 청약을 작년 6월 때쯤에 만들었는데요.
오, 청약 통장요.
Thank you.
개설하셨네요.
And so at that time, she said, "Oh, it's the best right now." 그 금리가 한 2.1?
오, 높은데요?
But it's for 2년.
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 okay,
So you can't touch it for 2
돈을 뺄
years.
수는 없죠.
Yes.
그전에, right?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And so, I mean, if you need to take it out, then you lose the interest.
Goodbye 이자. right?
Goodbye, Ija. But in any case, there's different levels of interest for
For sure, yes.
different banks, different accounts.
Exactly. So 물가 상승이 높아지면 if inflation goes up, then you end up losing money. So 실질 금리는 실질 받는 이자는 마이너스가 되죠. So you're actually 적자가 되는 거죠, right? So that's a big problem. So, and as you said, your assets lose value. So a lot of people look for other investments. So 이거 다양한 투자 수단, 투자 방법을 찾게 되는 거죠. So
네.
that's what we are here to talk about today. Right, so.
All right, so some investment options. I mean, I think lots of people are trying to find ways to put their money in a safer place. I think
For
because
sure.
of COVID-19,
Absolutely.
lots of people lost their jobs,
불안하죠.
their
Right.
businesses, which is such a
sure.
huge investment as well.
Exactly, right. And all that effort, all that time, right?
That's right. And so we need to find some place to put our, leftover money.
Exactly. And if you want a safe place, that would be, I guess, 안전자산, right? So safe assets. And then 안전자산의 반대는 바로 위험자산이죠. So 이 두 가지 분류되어 있고, right? So two different assets. So safe and risky assets. And then 뭐 여러 가지 있는데, so 예금을 벌써 얘기 나왔지만, 뭐 외환, so 외화 통장, so foreign currency, 주식도 당연히 되죠. So stocks, 보험, 또 뭐 투자 방법이라고 생각할 수도 있고.
wow.
So getting like a new insurance plan, right? That could be investment as well. And then finally, this is kind of risky here. I don't know if this should be included, but 암호화폐, so cryptocurrency.
That's
the
right.
latest rage, right? So
I mean, bitcoins and doggy coins. I don't know if you guys heard about that as well.
How do you? That's the DOGE.
Yes.
Is that how it's pronounced?
I'm just guessing.
저도 모르겠어요.
I
Yeah,
think it's
no
doggy
idea.
coin because they're like the mascot is like a dog.
Oh, makes sense. That they're
Which
perfect.
what I've seen, but yeah, it's definitely hard to tell. One of my friends who's
Mm-hmm.
living in the States, he said he bought $10 worth and now it's $30. So, I mean, that's a huge
세 배
increase.
됐네요.
세 배 됐어요.
300%
그쵸.
수익이죠.
I mean, if you invested more than $10,
Yeah, then it's even better. Right? So,
it's a big, increase. But,
for sure, right? So.
I mean, I think these are the reasons why, we're hearing more about investments. And so that's why we're getting these 개미 투자들.
Exactly. 동학개미들, right?
네.
So 요즘 많죠. So, and then in terms of like 투자 스타일도 두 가지 있죠. Regardless of 뭐 안전 자산인지 뭐 위험 자산인지, but 보통 위험 자산 주식 투자할 때는 두 가지 스타일이 있고요. There's active investing, so 능동적 투자, and also passive 투자, so that would be 수동적 투자. But I feel probably the 외래어 is used more commonly, like active 투자 and passive 투자 많이
Okay.
봤는데. So,
네.
so what is this passive 투자 stuff here, this passive investment? So 보통 뭐 index fund, so in English I guess mutual funds, or 상장 지수 fund, so exchange traded funds. And I'll get more into that next week, but that's a kind of index fund that has a lower service fee.
Oh,
Lower
okay.
fee, yeah. That's directly traded. So
I think I've heard a little bit about mutual funds. I probably learned about it in school and forgot all about it.
exactly.
But what is school for?
Right.
But it's interesting how we do learn about the school, or maybe we don't learn about the school in school, and we always think, well, why didn't I pay more attention? When
Exactly.
if I invested in my 20s, I could have retired early.
We need a JTech 101 course
Yeah,
in every school.
definitely.
I agree. Yeah, same here. So didn't learn about this till way too late. So, and so for passive investing, 지수가 상승하는 만큼 수익을 얻는 투자법이고요. So if the market goes up, you make money. If the market goes down, you lose money. Pretty simple, right? So pretty easy to understand. But 반면에는 액티브 투자하는 것이 본인의 분석에 따라 뭐 직접 종목, so you can choose individual stocks, so 종목, 주식 종목, or 뭐 무슨 특별한 섹터, so maybe for example cosmetics, 화장품이나 뭐 semiconductors, 반도체를 선정해 그거는 포트폴리오가 만드는 거죠. Right. So,
Right. And you can have actually a lot of funds in your portfolio.
sure.
So
a lot
the
of stocks too.
More the merrier.
I don't know. Like that was many years ago when I was in my 20s. 잠깐을 투자했는데
네.
펀드는 한 열 몇 개씩 가입했는데 뭐 한 10만 원씩. 그거 뭐 그렇게 큰 수익을 못 얻었어요.
Right,
얻지는
right.
못했는데. So I don't know if that necessarily applies here.
Sure.
So
Sure.
might be, right? And then 문제는 근데 액티브 투자하면은 시장 수익률보다 높은 수익을 얻을 수는 있지만 반대로 뭐 전체 주식 시장은 잘 나갈 때는 나 혼자서 망할 수도 있다는 사실이고요. 예를 들면 뭐 섹터가 잘못 선택하거나 뭐 한 주식 종목에 다 투자하면. So
Right.
say you pick one company that
All
hasn't
in.
done well, all in. And then 그 딱 한 회사가 좀 망하면 큰 손실이 나는
Right.
거죠. Right. So.
I think, there's so many people, so many different sides that are playing a role in investments and in stocks.
For sure.
It's not just, the individuals, but there's some terms that I learned.
기관 투자자.
Retail.
Retail, sure. That would be individuals. And then there are also financial institutions, right? So 기관 투자자. And they use like AI and big data. So it's kind of hard to compete with these big, institutions.
I'm not sure if people are familiar with the GameStop situation that's
I've heard
happening,
about that. Yes.
right? And I think people here in Korea are now kind of 참여ing, kind of contributing to
조심하시고요.
what's
right?
part of the issue and, wanting to, make some money fairly.
Exactly, yeah. Isn't there like an acronym, fear of missing out? FOMO? FOMO, exactly. So
Yeah, that's
암호화폐도 그런 현상이 좀 보이는데.
Go
right?
on
So,
the bandwagon.
Exactly, jumping on that, right? So probably two more terms that everyone should know is 호경기 and also 불경기 here. So that's important as well.
I have no idea what those are.
If you're timing your investment, so 투자 타이밍이라는 거. So 뭐 무슨 주식하고 부동산 가격이 오를 때는 바로 호경기라고 합니다. So I guess in English we have a bunch of terms. Bull market, economic boom, the economy is looking up, take your pick, right? So 여러 가지 말이 있는데 그 반대어는 내릴 때 불경기라고, so economic bust or a bear market.
Is this kind of a recession?
Recession, yes,
Okay.
could be. So yeah,
All
경기
right.
침체, right? So
A crash?
crash, yeah, that would be, I guess, more serious, right? But yeah. But of course, that's what we saw last year. So if I'm no economist here, but 2020년은 불경기였으면 hopefully 올해 2021년은 호경기가 전망이라고 했으면 좋겠고요. Hopefully, yeah, fingers
희망적으로
crossed.
생각을 하면
Yeah.
sure, why not? I mean, 2020 may not have been good for a lot of people, but then if you invested in, these streaming sites
For sure.
or, video call services.
I won't mention any, but I know
Right.
I've been using one. Right?
Many people have.
Yes, right.
And so that's the reason why people are just turning into this subject and trying to find as much as they can, even for myself, learn as much as I can.
Exactly. That's why we're here, right?
That's
So-
right. Well, let's continue on.
Oh, absolutely. So one good thing to keep in mind, like if you're looking for 약간의 안전자산, so if you're looking for a safer asset, one good thing to remember is like treasury bonds or government bonds. So in Korean, that would be 국채, right? So national debt, I guess.
I
yeah.
actually never understood the concept of bonds.
Yeah, they're, I guess, a safer option for,
Okay.
when it comes to stocks. But over the long term, 그 채권 그 가격은 계속 오르겠지만 단기적으로 주식 시장이 좋을 때, so when the stock market's going up, as it is now, 현재 상황이죠. 그 국채는 가격이 내려갈 수도 있고요. So when stocks go up, bonds usually go down. Or the price of bonds, right? So we would call that a bear market for bonds, I guess, right?
And that would be the time to buy?
I don't know. That's a good question. Yeah. I would say over the long term, bonds usually do pretty well.
Oh,
From what
okay.
I've heard. Yeah.
Okay.
But 직접 투자한 적은 없지만.
Right.
채권에,
Well,
So-
let's talk a little bit about the 위험한 것들.
예, 위험한 거 많죠. 여기서 조심하셔야 될 거는 많습니다. 그래서 해외 주식이든 국내 주식이든 절대 안전 자산이라고 보시면 안 됩니다.
Right.
So they're never a safe investment. So just to give you an example, 이거 정말 충격받았던 뉴스인데요. So you've heard of the Dow Jones Industrial Average, right?
Heard
it's
of it.
Yep, it's the American version of the Kospi in Korea, right? So Dow Jones 뭐 산업평가지수라고 하는데, so 초기 한 100년 전에 12개 우량 회사가 있었는데, so blue chip companies, there were 12 companies there. So 지금 와서 guess how many are left? 몇 개 남았을까요?
I don't know. 8?
None.
None.
They've
Zero.
all dropped out of the list. So 100년 동안 딱 2018년까지 딱 하나가 있었는데, but even that company ended up being kicked off. So 그거마저 떨어졌어요. 2018년에. So pretty shocking. So that just shows you 이거 변동성이 높은 시장이기 때문에 항상 조심하고 잘 파악하고 투자하셔야 됩니다.
That's right. And some people think of it, it's kind of a gambling situation. I mean, you're
Sure.
risking so much.
Always, right?
But then again, I think if you do study about it and if you are trying to get as much knowledge as you can and
Sure.
invest, then hopefully it turns out for the better than the
Going
worse.
up, I hope. So 고진감래, right? No pain, no gain.
Oh,
But-
there you go.
But avoid the pain, of course, right?
Yes.
So,
Well, thank you very much for teaching us about, all this. I don't even know if I would be able to remember it, but
there's more to come next week. Don't
yes.
worry, right? So-
Next week, give us a preview of what we're talking about.
Oh, so next week I want to go into some of the details of like getting into fund or also ETFs and actual stock investing.
Yeah,
So
okay.
some of the terms you might need to know. Nothing too difficult, but we'll try and make it easy.
Right. Well, for those of you guys who are looking into investing or learning a little bit more about how to manage your finances a little bit better than last year, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Tune in for next week with Professor Dan on a Thursday. But before we let you go, I mean, we were talking earlier on the show about role models.
Sure.
Who is your role model?
That's a good question. I would say my mom, probably.
Your mom. Why is that?
Never give up spirit. 절대 포기하지 않는 느낌이나 그런 거.
맞아요.
예,
어머님 분들은 항상 포기하지 않죠.
맞습니다. 끝까지는
끝까지.
희망이 있고. Right.
Thank you very much for being on the show.